The reference material that I gave Hikaru was of sailors from World War II to show their uniform, also photographs that I'd taken at the War Memorial in Canberra. When we think of pilots, we often kind of go to that look that the World War II pilot has. I don't know whether the naval uniforms have changed too much. My grandfather was a leading seaman in World War II. We actually used his face as reference for the sculpture of the sailor. It's very hard to find World War II veterans. We had one, which we spoke to, Ron. His story is more in the other sculptures. I think his stories are represented in other ways. We wanted a plane propeller to represent the Air Force next to the pilot and a ship propeller to represent the Navy. And I just thought it was a nice pair of things to put together to look at the two different propellers. The ship propeller is fairly generic. The plane propeller is really different depending on which aircraft you're looking at. So we decided to have an Australian-made aircraft, which was the Wirraway. And the Wirraway did serve at the very, very end of World War II. Roland hand-forged these, which again is an extraordinary thing. They're stainless steel and they're forged. It's quite heavy work. He worked for a couple of days in the forge. And then, of course, he had to polish them and weld them and repolish them. So there's a lot of work in these. The shape and the pieces on them are quite authentic. Other blacksmiths have commented on how good they are. And the thing that was really tricky was that steel rope that we had around that sculpture. When I was researching, I discovered that on the crest of the Merchant Navy there was a knot, and in the crest of the Australian Navy there was a different knot. The Navy has a surgeon's knot, and the Merchant Navy has a really pretty knot. It's called a carrack bend. It's almost a little bit like a Celtic knot. It took three of us to kind of weave it in and out. It was very tricky because it had to be done on site. It had to fit the sculpture. Obviously very important to both pilots and sailors is the compass points. The tree trunk is not perfectly round, so all the little hollows and everything mean that east might be on the east side of the trunk, but it's not actually facing east because of the shape of the trunk. They're pretty much where they're meant to be, but they look great. The interesting thing about the sailor is that we figured out where Station Pier was in relation to Greensborough War Memorial Park, and so his gaze is towards the direction of Station Pier. So Station Pier was where the naval ships would dock and the sailors would board. That's why he's looking in that particular direction.